Hello, I'm Robert, and you're welcome here in my busy little shop. On today's episode of What's My Workbench, I've got a small piece of leather here. This is the vaqueta leather from Montana Leather, and it comes pre-dyed. It's a vegetable tan leather, and this one's in black. And we're going to be using this to make a nice sheath. So, appreciate having you in the shop with me today. Let's get over on the workbench and get this project going. So to get started, I already have my pattern set up. This pattern I created some time ago, and it was for this knife, and that's a pretty good size knife. If you needed a sheath for a smaller knife, you could make this narrower here. You could make it longer if it's a longer knife. It's pretty adjustable here. And when I say you could make it narrower, instead of reinventing the wheel, all I would do is I would start by scribing around to about here on it, and then I would just shift this over. And then all you need to do is refine your curves on here. So it really works pretty well for that. I've used it the same way for longer, just shifted that. Now, I've marked these, which is the front and the back, and this is how it goes together. Now, I go back and forth on whether I want this inside lip that shows here to be finished side of leather or the rough side of leather. The advantage of having it as the rough side of leather is you have the finished side on the back. The only reason why I'm really talking about that at this point is if you want the finished side of leather to show on the back of it, then we need to turn that pattern over. And that's the way I'm building this one today. So I just need to see how she fits in here. And I know there's plenty of room here, but I can use this for something else over here. Yeah, I think that works pretty good. Probably doesn't make any difference, but. So now I'll just scribe around here. I typically don't use ink on leather projects, but it will show up fine, and I'm gonna round over this leather anyway, so it will be trimmed off with the edging tool. And it shows up nicely on there. Maybe not for you, but I can see it fine. I'm not sure if you could see it on there or not. Okay. Once I have my pattern cut out, I need to get this top edge here from side to side here rounded. Now on the inside, I only want around the center 2 inches where the pocket's going to be. And this leather is a little bit fuzzy here. I did grab this off of the neck area, but that'll be fine for what we're doing. I have forgotten to do this before, and you can get it burnished. It's just a lot easier to do at this point. All right, I have the top edge burnished. I applied some tape here where I'm going to be tooling to help control the stretch. I'm going to lay out where my stitching pattern goes. These will be the stitches here, this direction. So now I know where my stitch line is going to be. I want to establish my window that I'm going to tool within. And I'm going to make that window equally spaced top and bottom and side to side from the stitches. So I just line up here on my stitch line here, and I'm pushing against here, but I'm mainly creating a line here with my, I guess, my window side. There. And there. Okay. So that's going to be my tooling area, and I know it's small, but it's an accent on this. I'm going to go ahead and
cut that window in because it'll make it easier for me to see through the vellum what I'm doing. Okay, and I'll create my window here. All right, now this is going to be my pattern, and I don't have a problem with it outside of that, or I wouldn't say outside of it, but disappearing out of the box. But let me see what makes the most sense. I think I'm going to start up here. And this leaf, I'm going to make that go away because I don't think it's going to add anything to it. Now you can see I got a little bit here, but I'm light enough that I'll be able to burnish that out. So it's really just a pretty simple pattern in here. I'm going to go ahead and swivel knife this in. I'm still working moisture into this. Let that sit for a few minutes here. All right, let's see if we've got enough moisture in this. I'm going to start with my lifter here. I'm going to use my crowner next. If you didn't have a crowner, you can just go ahead and bevel around this, but this makes it a little bit quicker on here. I'm going to just run around here and kind of clean it up a little bit here with my bevel. And on here, I'll go ahead and bevel my stem of the leaf. I apologize, it's a little harder for you probably to see on black. Use my thumbprint here. Vertical line thumbprint. Just kind of defining this leaf a little bit more. We're not done there yet. I'm going to move on to this part over here. A little bit of work with my wiggler here. I think I need to bring this over just a little bit more. I've used a bar grounder before on the background, but I'm going to use just a backgrounding tool here. Oh, I need to finish this over here. Can be a little bit of a challenge because if you overwork it, it starts looking like ground beef instead of a pattern. I say that and then I go back over some more. We're getting there. I'm going to go back around this now and lift this flower a little bit more on my lifter. I just find it helps to define it a little bit. There we go. I'll let this dry and we'll be ready for the next step. All right. So I think it looks pretty decent. It'll shine up better when I get a coat of Resin on here. Speaking of Resin, I put Resin here and here and slicked it down. That will be the inside, and I'm doing that to protect whatever knife might go in there. Most knives is not an issue, but if they put something in there that was like a natural bone color, I wouldn't want it to get stained from the black rubbing on it. So the next thing I need to do is to get these glued together with contact adhesive. The way I do that is I flip over my pattern here, and now I'm on the inside, and I'm going to create those same marks here so that I keep the contact adhesive where I want it. A little bit of pencil lead here. Looks like I probably could just follow my Resin pretty well because it's about right. A little bit of contact adhesive here. And a 1/4 inch around the outside here. Probably don't even need it here because it will be stitched, but it'll help make it stronger there. These tabs out here are going to be doing most of the work. I'll let these dry. I will put 2 coats on to make sure that I have a good bond, and let it dry between them. When they're ready to be assembled, then I will come back. All right. I'm not going to get much wiggle room here. I want to get this lined up right. I think, let me look here. That looks about the right size either way, so we'll just drop this on here. Okay. I don't know, the lighting makes it tough with this black. All right, so the next thing I need to do is to finish the shape here, and I'll put in my stitching lines and make sure that I've got the right amount of space for my my punch here. And looks like I got plenty. I'll probably be taking some off the outside here. So this, I don't know if you remember, but this is my stitch line here. And I'm going to put that stitch line, I'm going to use this as my controlling factor here, the width of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find what would be the middle of that. It'll make sense here in a second. Yeah, that's pretty much it there. And so this will be where that line stops, here and up here. Now I'm going to connect those two dots, a little more heavy-handed here. That'll be my stitch line there. Now I need to create this part here. But before I do that, let me come over here. I'll do the same over here on this side. That's my bottom mark and my top mark. There's a reason why I'm going through all these steps here and showing this to you. Okay, now that I have these, I know the distance between my pattern and my stitch. Now I need to figure out what the distance is going to be that looks right for this. So I think what would be best is to take this same spacing here and do it along here. So I'll just take and I'm just put a little bit of a mark here. And it doesn't have to be the whole length, and one there. I've got these two lines. Now I will, don't forget to put something underneath here. Don't want to be chomping into the countertop. Now that I have that line, I will put my bag punch on here, and I'll figure where I want it in relation to all the edges and everything. I've got that line a little bit further down. I'm going to have to burnish that out some. I'm going to do the same thing over here on this side. It is a little bit of just placing it by eye, but let me show you a little bit more. So this is going to be my stitch line. That's the spacing here. I'm going to narrow this up. It's going to be the same spacing on the outside here. Actually, it's about right. This ear up here will be shaped off a little bit as well. So this distance here, I want similar on this side over here. Okay, now we'll see here, but so I'm going to use this same distance here now along this side, and this is where my stitch line is going to be. I'm going to stop here because here it's going to take off and come straight down to this point. Okay, same here. Okay. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to see where I need to trim over here, and I think it's pretty close to right. I want that same reveal there. I'm going to take some off of this ear up here. So I'll reshape that a little bit. So let's put in my stitching lines next. This is pretty thick. It looks like it'll come through there. This was 8 to 9, so we should be someplace in the 18-ounce range. If you're curious, we're 18.5 ounces here. This hole down here is going to, in my mind, the deciding factor of where to start with the holes. And I will work my way around here. And then I'm going to come back to this hole and go this direction now. The reason why I'm doing that is I think this joint here and this one here draws your attention there. I think you see this pattern, you see this here, and then when I get up here, I will space it out and make it right up at the top up here. And you can futz a little bit with the distance between the holes on the curve if you need to. You can push the curve out or pull it in a little bit to make it work. So I wanted to talk about this for a second here. You could come off up to here like that. I've done it that way. For some reason, I don't like it that way. So I've been doing it this way, and then I just come up here and finish that off. So you have to do with, you know, how you think it looks right. I think we're looking pretty good. So I'll set up over here in the stitching pony, and we'll get this started. I'm going to start stitching on here. I figure like this up in here, maybe here. These are the high stress points. So I don't want to start or end and have a knot in any of those. I will start here. I'll come up around, across the bottom, you know it. Up here, I'll take one needle up and back to stitch that in, and then I come down and I finish here. I think that's the best answer, at least in my mind, for that. And I took a moment and put one coat of Resin on this. I still have all my edges to do, which is fine, but I did that because I'm using a contrasting color on the thread and I don't want it to stain it. So we'll get started here. And I'm using light gray thread here. It's a braided thread and it's waxed. I didn't measure my thread. I sure hope I guessed enough. I hate splicing in another one. It can be done, obviously, but I try to complete all of them with minimal number of splices. Man, I think I'm gonna be short on thread. Like 4 inches short. I'm sure I'm not the only one that gets frustrated with oneself when we make a blunder that makes things more difficult. If there's anyone out there that's never ran out of thread on a project, let me know. I'd be interested to know who that person is. It's not me. Okay, we're getting close. Let's go over here on the workbench and work on our edges and final shape. Most of this side I can sand. So I'm going to go ahead and take this over in the sander. We'll do a little bit of a sand to get all this matched up and square, and then we'll come back and we'll put our final edges on this. But I think it's coming together pretty nicely. I think we're looking pretty good. I'm going to use my Ron's number 3 edger. Work my way around here. I'm going to switch to the 4 on the back side of this. Yeah, I think the 4 is better. I'll go back over this with the 4. Time for some burnish. So you're asking, do I sand it anymore? This is sanded on the Leather Machine Company sander, and what I'm going to do is I'll burnish it down first, and I'll decide whether I need to do more fine sanding. I see where people say they sand all the way up to, 600 or 1200 grit. That's pretty good, but I will probably sand on this some. Let me get it burnished around here, and then I'll probably get out some sandpaper and go back over it, sand it a little bit, and do one more finish on it. The other thing that will help seal that up and even that sheen out, if it needs it, is the coat of Resin. I've got one coat on here, but once the edges are done, I'll put the finishing coat on here. I'm just going to focus on the edge here. Well, there we go. Give you a close-up look. Hopefully it's focused in the right place there. I think it came out really nice. So far, I'm really liking working with this pre-dyed leather. It does save some time. This morning, decided what I was going to work on, and it was this Pancake sheath, and I just had to get it out and cut out the pattern instead of dyeing it and letting it dry. And I suppose there's some cost involved in dyeing it, your time and the cost of the dye. Vaqueta leather from Montana Leather. I think it, like I said, I think it turned out nice. There's the back of it. And I've thought about, you could glaze this in offsetting color to create some interest in that tooling as well. But I think it looks pretty good as it is. I appreciate you being in the shop with me today. Please like, share, and subscribe. More importantly, have a great day.